Veterans Day. There were several events all across Western Mass to recognize those who fought in our armed forces. A couple of them happening early this morning in West Springfield.
Western Mass News reporter Matt Price has the details.
Guns, music playing, and flags waving. There was so much to celebrate as people, young and old, gathered in the heart of West Springfield for a mid-morning parade saluting our veterans, a sight that warmed the heart of Barbara Remillard, a former first lieutenant of the U.S. Air Force.
I think the veterans don't get enough recognition sometimes, and especially since Vietnam, which was the era when I was in.
Led by local American Legion posts and first responders, veterans and current troops marched down Elm Street and got welcomes with applause. The morning concluding with a special ceremony in front of West Springfield Town Hall. But the festivities began hours prior, when some veterans and local officials continued the tradition of placing a wreath on the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Bridge, a token symbolizing both heroism and patriotism.
It's a symbolic gesture, and it just shows we don't forget and we continue to honor and remember the past sacrifices.
The commander of West Springfield American Legion Post 207, Jeff Zaleski, was in the Army from 2003 to 2007. In 2006, he suffered an injury from an IED while serving overseas. He tells Western Mass News this is a stark reminder that sacrifices come in many forms, especially for those who served in our military.
Veterans Day is a day to honor the living veterans. The end of World War I, originally Armistice Day.
There were two wreaths involved. The West Springfield wreath is on the bridge, while the Agawam wreath was tossed into the Westfield River. For West Springfield's Director of Veteran Services, Mark Massey, he has one word to describe a tribute like this: camaraderie.
It meant a lot, actually, to be able to not only show my love for my fellow veterans, but also allow the community to get involved and actually celebrate what Veterans Day really is.
With everyone saluting those who protected our freedom both at home and around the globe, Remillard is left filled with one feeling:
Tremendous pride. I feel very proud to have served my country.
At the end of the day, veterans and officials want everyone to remember one message: never forget and respect all of those who made sacrifices to help keep us safe. In West Springfield, Matt Price, Western Mass News.